Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando, and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
Let's get started with the Superstar Shakeup starting tonight on Raw in Montreal, Canada.
Definitely the most exciting time after WrestleMania. It's where everybody gets a fresh start, new things. We'll see what brand everybody ends up in. Pretty much Raw is the one that started off tonight, and they got some pretty big moves. Stay tuned and see who got drafted from SmackDown over to Raw.
Definitely, and yes, that WrestleMania review show is definitely coming. Stay tuned for that, guys. Alright, let's get started. Stephanie McMahon opens up the show, and she comes out, and the first thing she does is introduce Shane. And again, Shane has to make sure Mike Rome gives him the proper introduction. And then he starts talking about how he's the best in the world, but this time he says it in French. So he says it doesn't change. In every single language, I am still the best in the world. And then Stephanie says that every superstar on the Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205 Live roster is eligible for the Shake. Meaning anybody from any brand can show up tonight on Raw. And she says that today begins the very long journey to a whole new road to WrestleMania. So 365 days until next year's WrestleMania in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, new chapters are being written in the superstars' careers, and we'll see who ends up in which brand.
Exactly, and this is very interesting, and this was kind of a little teaser as to who the first person to show up or to be shaken up for Raw was going to be. Shane then starts to say, "Oh, Stephanie, let me show you some of the highlights of the year we've had on both Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205 Live." So the first picture he pulls up is that picture of Shane grabbing Miz's dad's face and him beating up the Miz. Those are the two pictures that show up, and then next thing you know, the Miz comes from behind and he brutally attacks Shane McMahon. He completely takes him out, and you can tell this is a new motivated Miz.
So therefore, Miz is a new addition to the Raw roster. Huge come up for Raw. Definitely one that is going to make Raw more relevant. A must see.
It definitely is a game changer for Raw, though, because The Miz, no matter where you put him, he's going to do great. And you already know he's going to bring viewership to the show that he's in. So he completely took out Shane, and this is interesting because, obviously, as far as we know, Shane is still the commissioner of SmackDown Live. So, I assume that feud is over, but from what it looks like from today, I don't think it is. So, don't be surprised if you see a part 2, a second chapter to this story.
Yeah, don't be surprised if he gets involved with Stephanie McMahon, just because she is, Shane McMahon's sister, and it's the McMahons, and it's probably a finished business. Shane did mess with Mrs. Dad.
Yeah, he definitely did, and therefore that made him cross the line. All right, let's get started with the very first match of the night. Ricochet, Aleister Black, Kurt Hawkins, and Zack Ryder all teaming up against the Revival and an NXT call-up, the first NXT call-up of the night, or the only NXT call-up of the night, we should put it that way. The War Raiders, who now have their name changed to the Viking Experience. I don't know how I feel about that, simply because I feel like the War Raiders was a powerful name, but I know that because copyright or whatever reason WWE decided to change it. It is what it is. I just feel like War Raiders fit them a lot better.
Yeah, definitely the Viking Experience. I didn't expect them to be called up just because they are the NXT champions.
Yes, they definitely are. I mean, they just retained, a week ago at TakeOver New York. So that was very, very surprising to see them on the main roster. It's like, okay, well, they have a throne to carry down in NXT, so what happens now? So very interesting to see how that plays out. And I mean, there's not much we can say about Aleister and Ricochet. We say it week after week after week after week. But it does look like Aleister and Ricochet, as of right now, are staying on the Raw brand. Also, keep in mind, tomorrow, there is the second part of the Superstar Shakeup where SmackDown gets to pick and choose who they want to keep. So therefore, do not be surprised if we see Ricochet over on SmackDown Live.
Yeah, definitely. Keep in mind, SmackDown still has to do their picks, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ricochet does go over to SmackDown.
Hawkins and Zack Ryder, the new Raw Tag Team Champions. I feel like they deserve a lengthy title reign. I feel like they're doing fantastic. I feel like they're carrying the Raw Tag Team division in the right direction. And there's something new, there's something fresh, something we haven't seen on Raw for a really long time.
Definitely, they're going to be the foundation of building that Raw Tag Team division, which they desperately need. And I think Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder are only the beginning of that.
Yeah, because they're unique. They're a unique tag team. They're indifferent to everybody else. Alright, the Revival. I mean, those guys are extremely talented, and it sucks that the way they've been treated so far. And yeah, they did get a title opportunity. Yes, they did get the championship. But even then, they didn't really do much with them. I believe they only had one feud, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
I think 2.
They had 1 or 2 feuds, and then that was it. They lost the championships to Hawkins and Ryder at WrestleMania.
Yeah, following back on the Revival, this is a team I would really like to see in SmackDown. I think they would show their full potential in that brand. They won't get held back.
And I feel like they will be drafted tomorrow on SmackDown. I feel like they're going to be being moved over. I mean, there's no other team you could move over other than the Revival. I mean, it makes sense. And the Viking Experience, looking forward to seeing more of them. We don't really follow NXT as much because we like to be surprised when we go to shows. We do know who all of the superstars are, though, however. But I do want to see more of them. I want to see what they are going to bring to the table. From what we saw at NXT TakeOver, extremely impressive. I know Armando was impressed with them. He was telling me that just the other day at NXT.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty much the team you have to keep an eye out on. They're going to be the upcoming team of the year, if anything.
Yes.
They got a lot of potential, and they're really going to bring up that tag team division in Raw, like I said.
Alright, now moving on to the next match of the night. Balor, the Intercontinental Champion, comes out and he's looking for a fight. He's looking for a challenge. And none other than Andrade and Selena making their Raw debut. So they're officially part of the Raw roster.
Very, very interesting. Andrade and Selena in Raw. This is going to be probably a game changer in the Raw division.
I definitely do feel like that is going to be a game changer simply because of the style and the uniqueness that both Andrade and Selena bring. Not only to SmackDown, we saw that already, but now Raw needs that, and I feel like this past year that's something that Raw lacked, and now they're finally going to have it.
He's going to show his full potential here in Raw, not that he already showed it in SmackDown.
Yeah, so what he's trying to say is that Andrade already showed what he could do on SmackDown. Raw is the show where he's really going to make a name for himself because
he's in the big leagues now, pretty much.
Exactly.
If you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against SmackDown, but yeah, he's pretty much right. So this is where he's really going to make a name for himself, and this is his opportunity. And you can already tell he's going to take advantage of every single opportunity. He gave Finn Balor a fight. He dominated 90% of this match.
And this is a different Andrade. Like you said, this is a motivated Andrade. He is more hungry for success, and like he said, this is going to be his year, and what better way to start off in Raw.
Exactly, and I'm extremely glad they didn't separate him for Selena because she is a huge asset to his career. We saw that he was able to win because she did pull off the Hurricanrana at Finn Balor, and that alone gave Andrade the opportunity to capitalize very, very quickly and take advantage of the situation to win.
Yeah, and what better way to start off his first night in Raw than defeating the Intercontinental Champion? So what does that mean? That means he may have an opportunity later down the road to face Finn Balor for the IC title, and hopefully he does. And me and Araceli were talking. We believe that Andrade is potentially going to be the winner of the Money in the Bank. That's if he's in the Money in the Bank match.
I definitely do see that. I feel like now is the time simply because of the matches and the year so far that he's been having ever since the Rumble. He's been on a roll. Yes, he's lost, but you can't keep him at an undefeated streak because the moment he loses, that just sets him back down, and I like the way they're booking him, and I think they should continue to do that. However, Finn Balor now, he's still up in the in the air, I guess. I don't see him moving. He could move. I was telling Armando I'd put him in SmackDown and trade him for Joe, but it looks like Raw didn't pick up Joe. But keep in mind, SmackDown still has a pick and choose opportunity, and if they do end up picking Finn, I assume Samoa Joe would end up moving brands, which is also great because I do feel like that powerhouse could be used in a Raw.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Finn Balor does stay in Raw.
You want him to stay on Raw?
I want him to stay on Raw. I think he's gonna do better at Raw.
So for the longest time, we've been saying we want him on SmackDown. I still think he belongs in SmackDown. I still think that's the proper brand for him, simply because of all the opportunity, all the talent that was down there, all the matches he can have. I still believe that. He disagrees. That's his opinion. I totally respect that. If he stays on Raw, he's still going to do great because of the amount of talent you have, you know?
And now he's got more people to work with in the Raw roster.
Exactly. All right, Elias, your favorite person of the entire Raw roster. However, I see him moving. I really do see him moving to SmackDown Live. Let us know what you guys think. What do you think? Do you think he's moving?
He definitely is one that should move, and like you said, he is moving.
And he made a very valid point because he said he's been trying to have the biggest performance of his entire career, not only at WrestleMania for the last 2 years, but he said he got interrupted twice by the Doctor of Thugonomics, once by John Cena, and the second time he got interrupted by the Doctor of Thugonomics. And he also said that his music is so powerful, he brought back The Undertaker, which I thought was just a little funny because you can find the humor in Elias. He also said he had a special song planned for today, and he also, I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, he's been throwing indirects. Last week it was anybody that decides to interrupt me will be a dead man, and this time he said the person that interrupts me today will not be able to show their face, and therefore the person that interrupted him was none other than Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, and with Elias, you gotta keep an eye out pretty much of what he says, because most likely that's what's gonna happen. He's giving you hint of who he's gonna bring out, pretty much.
Over the last couple of weeks, yes. And Rey Mysterio, great asset to the Raw roster. I do feel it's very, very much needed. I feel like his time on SmackDown was kind of running out, but I don't know how I feel about him being on the same brand with Andrade, simply because that's going to be their go-to now. If they need a match to put on, or if they need a feud to throw on, that's what they're going to go with.
Yeah, and another thing too, that's why you could keep Finn Balor in Raw, because then you could throw him against Mysterio again. So you have Mysterio and Andrade, which he could work with, and have a feud between them. And I think those would be some fabulous matches.
They definitely will be. I mean, we saw what Finn and Andrade were able to do tonight on Raw. However, I mean, that's just me. I just don't like to keep people that have been feuding for a really long time on the same brand, because then it becomes repetitive, kind of like the Shield and like the Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley, which we've seen and we still got to see today a year later. Yeah. That's my whole thing. But other than that, I do agree. Killer matches is what they're going to have throughout the year, and it's going to be incredible to see them steal a show.
If the matches are like Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins, like last year, then I'm totally okay with it. But then if you start getting the matches constantly and it's the same thing over and over, and then they're boring, they're not exciting, then that's when you start having an issue. But if they're like we said, like Seth and Dolph Ziggler, then I'll take it.
I feel like those were the only times when I was okay. Go back to the previous podcast, and Armando and I are like, every single week they bring something new. I'm hooked every single week, and if that's what Andrade, Mysterio, and Finn are gonna do week after week after week after week, bring something new, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Another person that pretty much got called up that didn't show up on Raw today was Cedric Alexander from 205 Live. So, very well deserved call up. I think it's long overdue. I just feel like now it's the time for him to really prove himself and for him to make a name for himself. And we're finally going to get to see what Cedric Alexander is all about.
Yeah. Another potential candidate for Finn Balor. Like I said, he's got a lot of opponents to work with now. I feel that, like we have been saying, he didn't have proper storyline. Now he has options to work with, so that's why I would like to keep him on Raw now, the way that the roster is starting to shape up.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely agree with him on that one. All right, moving on to Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, who are also coming out looking for a fight. And another one of the biggest surprises of the night, the Usos. This was pretty much a given. They lost the SmackDown Tag Team Championships last week. Yes, exactly. So therefore, that alone told you, okay, they're moving.
Yeah, huge addition to the Raw Tag Team division. This is gonna completely change the face of the tag team division. No doubt.
I feel like this is where they belong. They're gonna bring obviously something new to Raw, something we haven't seen in a really long time. I mean, SmackDown had the Hardys, they had the Usos, they have the Bar, they have the New Day still currently with them, and that was just too much of a powerful tag team. And I feel like now with the Usos being part of Raw, it brings something new, it brings something different. And do not be surprised if the Usos again become the top tag team in the Raw division.
Definitely, like we've been saying, the Usos are by far the best tag team in the WWE. I'm sure you could agree with me on that.
Yeah, for sure. I
mean, I think the only ones that could top them right now is probably Alistair and Ricochet, but even then, the Usos pulled off a victory against them, if I'm not mistaken. So, huge addition to Raw.
And Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, they're one of those teams that I wasn't a fan of. If you remember, I was like, this is an odd pairing. I don't know how I feel about it. They're not going to last long. Boy, was I wrong. They have lasted this long. They've made it this far, and I feel like they've gotten to know each other a lot better. They work extremely well together, and they are more focused. They are more determined. They know what they want, and this is a team I'm stuck in this one because I would keep them in Raw simply because now there's more competition with the Usos being there, but at the same time, I could see something for them in SmackDown as well.
I think either way it would work. They're going to be great tag teams on both brands, no matter if they decide to stay on Raw or on SmackDown. You're right, this is a team that we kind of had our doubts, and just slowly but surely it's been coming along where they've been working together. Odd pairing like Sheamus and Cesaro at first, and look at them now.
Exactly.
But regardless of that, whatever brand they stay, I think they're going to do good.
Yes. Alright, let's move on to Alexa Bliss with a moment of bliss with her special guest, Sami Zayn. He's returning, and if I remember correctly, Michael Cole said he is now making his debut, official return on Raw. So that means he's staying on Raw. And so far it looks like Kevin Owens is still staying on Raw, so that's interesting. That's another one that I'm like, however, they could deliver. This was overall weird because his music played, it cut, Alexa was going to talk, and then his music played again, and then his music played again, and then his music played again.
It kept on playing because the crowd gave him the reaction. Keep in mind that he was in his hometown, so obviously he was getting the reaction. Everybody was happy because he was coming back from injury, but turned out Sami Zayn pretty much turned on his hometown.
Yep. Which I feel like is one of the hardest things to do because you have such a huge crowd behind you, and then you gotta be like, nope, sorry, flip the script, and they just completely turn on you. And that's pretty much all this thing was about. And we got to see an Alexa face turn now. She pretty much said, no, it's not their fault what's going on, it's your fault. And she pretty much goes face on Sami Zayn, and he gets tired of it and just walks out. He's like, I already left Montreal once. I can definitely leave it again. I don't live here.
Yeah, and then the crowd started chanting Kevin Owens.
And that's about it, pretty much, for this thing. Alexa, I would draft her over to SmackDown. I feel like the Raw women's division is already strong enough as is. But I would move Alexa over to SmackDown.
Yeah, I think Alexa would do fantastic in SmackDown. And they need another top star out there.
They definitely do. I mean, now Becky's gone. We don't know what the status with Charlotte is. It looks like she's staying on SmackDown so far. But again, we don't know. So I would just move her over there. Alright, let's move on to the Women's Tag Team Champions, the Iconics, versus Bayley and Sasha. We're not a news channel. We're not going to get into that. But turns out she's not at Raw. If you want to know why she wasn't at Raw, Google is your friend.
Go online and figure it out.
Exactly. It might sound harsh, but we're not a news channel. We try to stay away from that. You guys know that. Alright. And Bayley had to go out and find a tag team partner, and this one was obvious. The moment you saw the Usos pretty much come into Raw, you already knew Naomi was debuting on Raw. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, ever since the Superstar Shakeup started 2 years ago, this is the first time Naomi is on Raw. Yeah. Since the Superstar Shakeup.
This was definitely a great addition to the women's division. Obviously, Naomi, she's got a lot to offer, a lot of athleticism, and she's just going to come in and tear it up.
And the competition in the Raw women's division is at high stakes right now, with the Riot Squad, with Natty, with Becky, all the women that are down there. I think Naomi is a great asset. She's a great opportunity, I guess. This is where her great opportunity comes from, and this is where she can become a big, huge star. Not that she isn't one already, because she's been champ, but this is where she's really going to break out on her own.
Yeah, she's going to break out of that comfort zone that she was in SmackDown and really show her potential, what she's really made out of.
Yeah, and we all know she's good. We've seen her wrestle. But like you said, this is where she's really going to outgrow SmackDown and be like, okay, I am ready. And she's really going to take the lead over on Raw. And the Iconics, impressive each and every single time. This is why I like the Iconics. Every time I see them, they bring something new. And they just have me hooked, character-wise, wrestling-wise, everything. They have me hooked on their characters, and I'm looking forward to see where else they take the tag team divisions to.
Definitely, they're a unique tag team. I'll give them that. They're impressive in the ring, and so far what they've done is just been amazing. That's why they are champions. You know, they know how to outsmart their opponents. They study their opponents. They know how to get to their opponents' head. So it's just all around a great tag team.
100%. But keep in mind, very, very dangerous Naomi, because she pinned Billie Kay. That means, like Armando said earlier with Andrade, they could potentially become number one contenders for a championship opportunity at the tag titles.
So keep in mind, Naomi, if that does happen, who is Naomi going to pick as her partner? Is she going to pick Bayley, or is she going to pick somebody else in the Raw Women's division? It's very, very interesting. So we'll see who they end up pairing her with if she does end up getting a title opportunity.
Exactly. But as of right now, I see her with Bayley. That's the team they went with. I'm very surprised, though, because Bayley wasn't really in this match. I believe she started the match and then she tagged Naomi, and that was it. Like, that was the rest of the match, all Naomi, which is great because now it's putting Naomi, as we said, at the level where she should be, and this is where she's going to succeed.
Yeah, and hopefully she gets that ring time that she deserves. She kind of did get a little bit of it in SmackDown, but I definitely should get more in Raw, and I feel that this is her year.
Yeah, change is definitely good. This is going to be good for her. Alright, finally, EC3 is having a match on Raw. Well, he had his first match against Dean Ambrose, I think, but that didn't go so well for him. And this time, they were finally like, you know what, let's throw EC3 out there. We're going to put him in a match against Braun Strowman. And the first thing Braun Strowman does is run right through him. Poor EC3 can't get a good one. Yeah. He hasn't had a good day.
He got these hands and he got put through the stage, and that was pretty much the end of EC3 for the night.
Exactly.
They're probably still trying to get him out of the stage.
He's probably still feeling the effects of pretty much Braun Strowman. Yeah. Braun Strowman just took him out. But, I don't know. Interesting to see where this all plays out leading into tomorrow. Because keep in mind, SmackDown still has picks. You have to keep that in mind through this entire show. Alright. None other than the man, Becky Lynch, Becky Two Belts, comes out. And it's time for her match against Ruby Riott with the Riot Squad. Now, this is the team that I see splitting. I said it before. I believe at the Rumble is when I started saying they were going to split. This is where they're splitting. Sarah Logan, I believe, stays on Raw. And I believe Ruby and Liv move on to SmackDown Live. We'll see tomorrow, though. But Ruby Riott, I feel like she struggled a little bit at the beginning against Becky Lynch, but towards the end, as soon as she got comfortable, she was able to pick up the pace and being able to capitalize on Becky.
Yeah, she was studying Becky Lynch and see what she was gonna offer. But going back on the Riot Squad, I think this team did amazing the year they were in the main roster. I think they pretty much did everything. They pretty much did everything that they wanted to do.
Definitely.
In the main roster, they put all their goals and they accomplished them, and they went as high as they could for a tag team. Yeah, they didn't win the tag team titles, but like we said, this team was pretty much like the Shield of the women's division, and I feel that it's time for them to split up and for bigger and greater opportunities for them.
The Riot Squad is one of those teams that don't need the tag team championships, as you said, to be successful. And we saw that Ruby Riott took this team as far as she could, and I feel like with him, I agree with him. I feel like now is the perfect opportunity to split them. I've been saying it since the Rumble, and I think the way they're going to do it is Liv and Ruby to SmackDown and you leave Sarah down there. Or you just move Ruby Riott. Either or works out, but I really feel like Ruby Riott is going to do great things with the SmackDown Women's Division.
And another thing, too, I feel that they gave Sarah and Liv to Ruby Riott so she could carry them. To see how she could do it. If she could carry these two superstars, imagine what she could do if she carries a brand. And I think she was successful on that. And I think Sarah Logan and Liv had a huge role to play on that. And same thing with Ruby Riott. It's just an all-around team that's just perfect.
Yeah. Whoever put this team together, you did a fantastic job because they balance each other out super, super well. And, well, we'll find out tomorrow if the Riot Squad stays together or if they split up. Alright. Becky was able to beat Ruby Riott as pretty much assumed. And then she's pretty much just standing in the ring, and next thing you know, Natty is walking down the ramp, and she's walking, and she's like, I just wanted to come out here and pretty much congratulate you on your victory tonight and at WrestleMania when you became the first ever woman to main event WrestleMania and walk out of WrestleMania a double champ. So she starts congratulating her, and she pretty much tells her, I came out here to tell you that I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And this is where Becky is like, yeah, Natty is a pioneer of the women's division, and then she gets interrupted by none other than Lacey Evans. And so Lacey Evans is walking down the ramp, and she stands there and she tells him, well, being that I'm classy, being that I'm a lady,
and they y'all nasties.
Exactly. And that y'all are nasties, like he said, I was able to talk my way into getting an opportunity, so therefore Lacey Evans versus Natty, the winner of that match was automatically going to become the number one contender for any championship that they want, whether it be the Raw or the SmackDown championship. But Lacey Evans did make it clear that she was making her Raw debut. So, in this case, I believe it would be Raw.
Yeah, Lacey Evans, a huge opportunity for her to capitalize and prove herself and show everybody what she's capable of. Keep in mind, I said it, the Royal Rumble podcast, that I was very, very impressed the few minutes I had seen her, and this match wasn't the exception. Everything that I said was correct. She's just the full package. She reminds me of the next Charlotte Flair.
That moonsault.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the moonsault, the way she does the moonsault, it's just something new and just perfectly executed from the beginning, top to bottom.
Exactly. And he basically took all of the words out of my mouth, so I'm not going to touch as much on Lacey Evans, but Natty, you have to give her props. She did a fantastic job putting Lacey Evans over, and that is why Natty is so good in the ring. No matter who you put her up against, whether it's a newcomer, whether it's a veteran, she will deliver and she will make sure each competitor looks good. If you haven't seen it, go back to that match where it's Charlotte Flair versus Natty down in NXT. That match was the match that got me hooked into Charlotte Flair. And this match that she had with Lacey Evans is pretty much the match that made me care about Lacey Evans.
Yeah, Lacey Evans is going to be the next big female superstar in the women's division. No doubt about it. She proved herself tonight. And Becky Lynch better watch out with Lacey Evans. She's not going to be an easy opponent to defeat.
So does this mean that at Money in the Bank, Lacey Evans is facing Becky Lynch? From what it looks like, yes, because I don't see it happening on Raw. I see it happening at Money in the Bank. That alone already tells you can cross Lacey Evans out of the list. She's not winning the Money in the Bank. Predictions, I have one already. If you guys want to hear it, let us know, and we'll say it next week on the next episode of Wrestling with Siblings, or we'll say it on tomorrow's podcast, which is the SmackDown one. I have my prediction. I'm pretty sure he has his as well, but we'll let you guys know. So Lacey Evans is not winning the Money in the Bank. We can tell you that. Who knows? She might even be champion by the end of Money in the Bank.
And not only that, but also keep in mind Becky Lynch. It's Money in the Bank, and she's holding 2 titles, so she possibly could defend her title twice that same night.
Yeah. He made a very valid point, and he said this right after WrestleMania. We weren't even out the stadium yet when he said it. He was like, well, I see Becky Lynch losing both championships at Money in the Bank on the same night. He has a very valid point. It's Money in the Bank.
If you really think about it, if she defends her title twice, she's if anything, the winner of the Money in the Bank could cash that same night
for the other championship.
So therefore, her Lynch.
They really are, because if you think about it, Lacey Evans versus Becky Lynch, let's say for some reason Lacey Evans pins her or submits her, that's one championship that she lost, which more likely will be Raw, because Lacey Evans says she was on Raw. And then you have the Money in the Bank winner who sees that opportunity and is like, you know what? I'm cashing in right now. And Becky Lynch could lose both championships on the same night.
Yeah, that's the disadvantage that Becky Lynch is going to have to face going into Money in the Bank. But we'll get into that much more later, but it's just something that we're throwing out there.
That's just a prediction. Or maybe a spoiler. But no, we'll make it a prediction. I was like, we'll make it a prediction. Alright, let's get into the very last match of the night. I want to say the biggest surprise, simply because this was the one I really wasn't expecting. I was expecting somebody different, and I'll get into who in just a second.
And I say...
Yeah. So he'll tell you guys who, and then I'll tell you guys who, but let me get into the superstars first. So Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley teaming up against Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and obviously Dean is no longer with the WWE, so they had to find a partner. And I was telling Armando, the one person that I see moving from SmackDown to Raw is Randy Orton. I saw him moving because I feel like, okay, one, he's always moved. Two, he's a great asset to Raw, and I feel like Raw was really, really going to need him, and I feel like with the amount of matches and the talent that he has, he could have amazing matches with the people that are on Raw right now.
Yeah, and obviously my pick was Daniel Bryan, just because you needed obviously another top star on Raw, but to the surprise, who did they end up drafting?
AJ Styles.
Yeah, and I didn't see this one coming just because AJ Styles had pretty much helped build that brand ever since he got there.
Yep, and by the brand he means SmackDown. Ever since he got there, like you said, he's built that brand. I don't want to say single-handedly, but he definitely carried it when it was like at its lowest point, and he got it to where SmackDown is today, the most must-see show.
Played a huge role.
Exactly.
With the other superstars, but definitely AJ was the face of it up until Daniel Bryan started coming along, and then you had Randy that started getting more involved. So,
well, you know what they say, SmackDown is the house that AJ Styles built.
So that one we didn't see coming for sure.
That is definitely the reason why we didn't see it coming, because we were like, well, why would you move AJ? That's his house. That's where he belongs, you know? And turns out he's now part of the Raw roster, which I think is great because, again, another great asset. Something new, something fresh, and he is definitely going to bring the A-game to Raw.
And when we found out that he was coming to Raw, my emotion just went even bigger, because look at the type of matches we could potentially see. We could see Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. We could see
Finn.
We already seen AJ versus Andrade, but you could throw Andrade and Seth Rollins. Like I said, it's just the potential of superstars that the Raw roster has already. It's just amazing. It's gonna make it an even better brand than what it was.
Exactly. So pretty much, Raw took all the big talent that SmackDown had, and yeah, you may be like, well, Andrade isn't a top star, but the quality of his matches are 5-star. So even if you don't consider him like a top star, he has 5-star matches every time he's on TV. Rey Mysterio, which we didn't even touch on, did we?
A little bit.
We did touch on him. He moved over there. Sorry, I just blanked out for a second. I mean, come on. So, they pretty much took all the people that made SmackDown what it is away from them. Now it's going to be interesting to see who SmackDown pulls from Raw.
Yeah, I can't wait till tomorrow. And I know the SmackDown is smart about who they pick and who they bring to the brand. So they proved it last year, and this year I'm just excited to see who they're going to bring.
I can definitely guarantee one, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah,
and Strowman.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same aggression, same passion for the business, just trying to make a statement and just gets in the zone, kind of like Randy Orton does.
Yep. And you could already assume how this match ended. AJ Styles taking the win home for Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. The match overall was fantastic, but I do have to give props to one competitor out of everybody. Yes, we already knew Drew McIntyre is the full package. We already know Bobby Lashley has been a great addition to Raw, I guess, and he's put on great matches, especially having Leo Rush has put him in a whole new level. We already know Seth, and we already know Roman. But there's one person a lot of people underestimate, and I feel like that's Baron Corbin. Every single time I see him, I'm impressed. And I don't even like Baron Corbin. I don't like his character. I don't like what he represents as Baron Corbin. But when he is in that ring, I'm hooked to his matches. Because every time, no matter who you put him up against, he brings something new.
He does, and he's that type of superstar that the shakeup actually did benefit him all the way around, and I feel that he still has way more to offer than what he has proven to us.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't want to see him go back to SmackDown.
Yeah.
I would keep him in Raw. There's a whole new set of talent that just arrived on Raw that he can face. You know, like the possibilities that Armando was saying for matches are completely endless right now for Raw. I would keep him there, and I have to give props to Baron Corbin.
And I feel that after the year he has had, he deserved having that match against Kurt Angle. He should have that Kurt Angle picked him, because Kurt Angle saw pretty much what we're seeing at Baron Corbin.
Yeah, the major improvement. I mean, he went down. For God's sakes, the man had won the Money in the Bank and lost it. He had an unsuccessful cash-in. And then after that, I really genuinely didn't see anything going for Baron Corbin. I was like, well, that's it. Like, he lost. That was literally my reaction. He moved over to Raw, and I was like, okay, well, he's going to get buried amongst all the talent that's already on Raw. And then next thing you know, bam, he's Constable Corbin, and he is running Raw, and he is pretty much the top star in Raw. And now, I got to give him props for it. He's improved, major beneficial.
He's one that I don't see him moving, and if he does, I think he's still going to do great in SmackDown, just because he has developed his character all around.
He's evolved, and that is, I think, as of right now, he is the one superstar that has benefited from the shakeup, as you said. The only superstar of anything that has ever benefited from moving of brands. So, yeah. Kurt Angle took him under his wing, gave him a shot at WrestleMania, and he definitely delivered, so you can't be mad.
Yeah, so stay tuned for tomorrow for the SmackDown picks for the shakeup.
Exactly. We will be bringing it to you. Already know the latest here on Wrestling with Siblings. Again, that's all I have for you guys. Now, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you guys want to see. Yes, the WrestleMania episode is coming. We've just been really busy. And for those of you that do not know what WWS stands for, Armando, what does WWS stand for?
Wrestling with Siblings. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We'll see you.